Well, hello again and welcome to this number 4 documentary. Today I'll try to explain something about being able to practice and why not. And I will also state that I will try to explain the reason why I record this and makes it worldwide accessible on YouTube, because that's big, to be honest. And I could ask myself the question, what interest could anyone in Mozambique have in listening to me? Well, maybe not. But I'm trying today to address all of you out there who have abilities which have been covered up. Many of us have experiences from childhood or when it happens, unfortunately, that somebody judge us. Of course, the usual story is that after 40 years, a person looks at photos and finds out that she has not got 2 huge ears, but she was told that in her childhood. And to be very brief about it, I have mentioned this a bit before. When I was 19, I was very much in love with a girl who played the piano. And for some reason, which is too complicated to explain here, she and 2 friends and 6 parents made a kind of trial where they judged me to be absolutely unable to have anything to do with music at all, because apparently I was only interested in one thing, that is sex. And this meant that I left this trial with some subconscious idea that whenever I touched the piano, I destroyed the music I played. And if you have something like that blocking your subconscious, it's very difficult to get around it. And I had then, over 50 years, this is 50 years ago, and over these years I have tried my best. I went to the conservatory, I played and played, and I even went to try hypnosis to no avail. Well, I found out that if I was able to play, my father, who also played the piano, would be very sad. So maybe in order to take care of my father, I was unable to play, but it's deeper than that. So I actually ended up with 2 kinds of opposition when I play. The first one is that I have been told, and this really stuck, that I'm destroying the music when I play. The other thing is that I don't want to play unless I can do it my way, which means do it with total respect for myself and for the music. And until about half a year ago, I was unable to play more than just a few bars of this and that. And then my friends had this wonderful idea. As a birthday present, they invited one of the most interesting and profound pianists this day, Angelo Villani, and his very beautiful girlfriend Selina here as a birthday present to a private recital twice. And during one of these recitals on the 1st of July, I couldn't help sitting down at the piano and just playing a little bit of the F major ballad by Chopin, and Selina heard that and immediately heard that there was something there. And then I played for Angelo as well, and my God, they could hear that I had some kind of musical ability. And hearing this from somebody who is really a pianist, somehow this started some returning from the grave. And I know that I was born with the ability to play the piano. The only thing I have to do is to find out where to put the fingers. I have no technical problems at all, apart from the resistance. So I can give you a few examples of what kind of resistance I have. For instance, in the Mozart A minor sonata, there's this passage in the beginning. And this I'll try again, I'll explain. This I can't play because I've practiced over and over and over again. But the girl whom I loved played this sonata, and she was unable to play this shift in key, which is from one word to another. I try once more. This transition, which is enormous in the music, I'm not allowed to play because my subconscious tells me that if I play it, I will play better than her. And she was the goddess of piano, so I can't fight that. What I can do is gradually to find myself again so that I can allow myself to play it. And I played it hundreds of times to no avail. Similar as here in the G major sonata. See, it's very difficult. Try it again and I'll explain what the problem is. I can't practice it, but I can change something. So this time I played it, but this passage has a beauty which is really out of this world, and something in me will not allow me to demonstrate that I can actually hear it, because there's still something in me telling me that I'm ruining the music when I play. And there's so many things I've tried to play and to practice, and I'll give you a demonstration of something here which might be really a good illustration. In the Liszt sonata, which I tried to play a bit of last time, there's this culmination here. And it says grandioso. Now, a friend of mine once had I think a psychology session and was told that when he thought he was actually a very special person, he was told that he had what in Danish would be similar to a grandioso complex, meaning don't you think or believe that you have anything special. Instead of stimulating, we are all special. And in order to play this grandioso, you have to be able to tell yourself and the world, well, here I am, listen to me. I'm half man, half piano. This is incredible music. And whenever it's what the notes concern, it's not that difficult actually. But every time I try to play it, there's a build-up of energy. There's something within me which is making a sabotage. So I'll not try to play it, and if I play wrong notes, don't mind, because what I want you to hear is what is underneath this. And I can say really that my ability to believe in my right to play the piano is growing, and what is coming is actually quite big. I can really do that, but I have to allow myself to do it, and this is the difficult part. In order to communicate with music, you have to be able to communicate with yourself, which is quite some school or exercise. And this means that you can't cheat, you can't lie, you can't steal, you can't be unfaithful to anybody. You must seek the truth and nothing but the truth. This is nothing to do with moral or ethics. Well, it has, but it's an energy thing that you can't contact yourself is if you, in some aspects of life, have to lie to other people or to yourself. Then you simply can't rise from the grave the way I try to do it here. I try to play this and see if I can demonstrate that I dare play grandioso. And in order to avoid page turning, I've glued the pages together like this. Where are we? Yeah. Once more, see, it's already working, this sabotage. See, whenever I get engulfed in it, then there's a lot of protests in me. You can't do that because then you will demonstrate that you are a pianist. And there's a passage a little longer. This one. And I'm actually able to play it, but I must not, because if I can play it, then I am a pianist. So I'm not fighting. I should practice and practice and practice and practice, because each time I learn it, then somehow from the inside, somebody or something pulls my leg, and I have to conquer that. I'll try this passage once more, just to see if it's possible to play it. demonstrate something. And there are some passages, some music which I can play or play very soon, but not if until I'm able to express what's in the music. Normally, when you study music and try to learn the piano, you study the technique, so that's the first thing. You have to hit all the notes in the right sequence, and when you do that and have done that, then you can interpret or express what you feel. In my case, it's the other way around. The inside of the music is slowly carrying me along a path, so that the last thing, which will be perfect, is that the actual notes are there at the right time. And I tried to play a bit of this wonderful Bénédiction de Dieu dans la solitude. That's to feel blessed by God when you're feeling lonely. And in the beginning, there is a passage or some notes in the right hand, which are actually very difficult seen from one point, because you have to make a cradle-like shifting movement between these two fingers, and then a chord, broken chord in the other three fingers. But that's not the problem. The problem is that Liszt is able to create a sound which reminds me of, this sounds banal, but Liszt is never banal. This is very profound, which reminds me of distant church bells and songs of angels and blessings in the depth of your soul. So I'll briefly try just to illustrate this. Here I can't do it. This figure, I can play it, but I can't play it until I can get the feeling right. But it's growing from each time I sit down at the piano and play. And there's processes going on in my life where I have to climb out of the grave, so to speak, in order to get this music to work. But it comes. And sometimes I'm surprised that there's things that I can actually do with my hands which I'm not supposed to do, because it looks like a pianist. I can play quite without so much trouble octaves. Which is quite difficult, and I have fights with the entire history of interpretation. For instance, in the Mozart sonata I played a moment ago, the G major sonata, when the last movement is very special, and I was brought up in the idea that the Mozart, this is before Wolfgang Hildesheimer's biography, that Mozart was the nymph and shepherd style with little porcelain figurines, and you played, for instance, this last movement, something like this. And to me, there's as much power in this as in this Rachmaninoff prelude. Which means that it should be played like this. Because the entire history of music is against me, and I have been told that I'm ruining the music by playing it. but I will eventually succeed because I mean, believe this is what is in the music, this kind of power. And there's some purity in, for instance, the studies of Chopin. Some of them I've tried to play Opus 10 number 1 and Opus 25 number 1, 25 number 12 and Opus 10 number 12. Not until recently where I began really listening to this Bach prelude again, which I played the last time. It occurred to me that the Chopin study of 10 number 1 is actually the same thing, like pure chords interplay. And I have been able to play that once. If you go to YouTube under early recordings, I made that when I was 18. And now it's gone, but I'm on my way to play it. But again, I have to have some kind of permission from inside to give it the power it actually has. You see, I can't hit it. But it's there. It's not far away. Two things, and then I think I have explained what I'm trying to explain. And one thing is that I discover by and by more gems in the pieces I play. And for instance, in the F major ballad by Chopin, which I again will play a couple of pages of, so that in these documentaries there are two pieces which I will play every time. This is as much as the F major ballad as I can see fit, and the Wedding of Trollhagen by Grieg. And the last time I discovered that the second phrase here, this one, had some kind of embrace, that there's some warmth in it, like a hug after homecoming. And the next phrase I discovered has the same quality of a lullaby, like in the first scherzo by Chopin, the slow middle section there. So, and this is actually a slow waltz in a way, and it has a tendency to be boring. And I've run into that also when I hear people, some pianists playing this. The opening of the fourth ballad. And it's not boring, but you have to find the story, and you can only find the story if you can find it in yourself. You can't put it in. If you can recognize emotions in yourself in the music, then you can play it, and otherwise not. And I'm also getting better at this presto con fuoco part. This is the same with the grandioso. Now, don't you think that you are able to play the piano? So when I come to this, sometimes I can play it, and sometimes I can't, because it is, well, it's almost like a curse, and I'm sure somebody know what that means. I have a feeling that something you can't get away from, and nothing seems to help, apart from the fact that, in my experience, I have met this wonderful person, the pianist Angelo Villani, and he has rekindled I think it's called, my feeling that I'm actually there. And so this means that I'm starting to grow. So it's very audacious of me. I feel quite brave actually doing this, because everybody can hear I can't play it. But maybe some of you who listen can hear that underneath this there is a pianist coming up from the grave, something like that. So let me just try to play this ballad piece here. Again, the sabotage is from Who Do I Think I Am? But I don't care, so I just go on. I like to play as a final thing the Grieg Wedding on Trollhagen again. And there's there's a passage here which is really where the piano takes over in the complete fortissimo. And the recordings, almost all of those recording I know is not slowing anything down. The tempo is not slowed down, but it reminds me of when I was in the school at 5th or 6th grade. We had handicraft woodwork. I don't know what it is, the right expression in English. But the teacher said, when we are sawing, when we stood with a saw this length, stood like this, and he said, well, your father has in his taxes paid for the entire saw. Use it. And I mean, why not use the entire piano? So in these, yeah. I would like to make it almost symphonic if possible. But when I start playing this underlying process that I'm actually out of my reach, out of what I say, my capacity here, which is actually not true because I can play it. It intervenes. But as I said before, don't bother. There's something else I would like to tell you. There's a passage here which is which has some kind of beauty, which this has the effect that something in me will not allow me to play it until I can get the beauty right. And I have heard some trying to get this beauty. It's very special, and maybe you agree with me that in very subtle phrases, some angel suddenly appears. It's I say when it comes here. Now, see, now I could play it, but sometimes I can't because there's a hidden beauty in this special phrase. There's also in the slow middle section, which begins with this. Which I hear as a kind of dialogue between man and woman. This is a wedding. And when it returns, there's another note coming in. And when you come to this place, this one note, which is intermingling, is changing the whole aspect into some kind of very profound human experience of recollection and thoughtfulness, almost a meditative condition. And because it has this beauty, I am often somehow distracted when I get there. But I tried to play it again, the entire thing, and maybe you can hear the progress from the last documentary. you for listening.